Arsenal have been really good this season, but here's the thing. They are only going to be getting better. Arsenal right now, despite being undefeated in all competitions this season, the last time we lost a game was April 17th against Bayern Munich. We've already beaten the likes of PSG, Spurs. We almost beat the likes of Manchester City. We have been on fire this season. Now, not every performance has been amazing, but overall we have been really solid in our performances. But like I said, here's the thing. What's very exciting for us is that we can only get better from here on in. But just why exactly do I say that, and how much better can we actually get? Well, that's what we'll be talking about today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Gunner Central here. I hope you're all doing well. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you guys haven't already, and let's get into it. Now, like I said, Arsenal have had a really strong, solid start to the season. I wouldn't say absolutely perfect or amazing, but for the most part, I would say it's been like an 8 out of 10 level start to the season. We obviously started off our season with back-to-back 2-0 victories against the likes of Wolves and Aston Villa. We then had that unfortunate draw against Brighton that I still think we should have won. We then had that win against Spurs. We had a draw with Atalanta. We almost beat Manchester City in the Etihad Stadium, but unfortunately, John Stones in the last second got himself a goal when we were down to 10 men. We progressed during the Carabao Cup. We've recently beaten Leicester and Southampton, and we got ourselves a very solid 2-0 victory against PSG. So once again, although it hasn't been absolutely amazing, outstanding, we have been really, really good. Our defense has looked reasonably strong, and our offense, despite missing the likes of Martin Odegaard, well, we've still been on absolute fire. And here's the thing, when you look at those numbers, when you look at those stats and those results, you still think to yourself, objectively, those are some really good performances and really good results. It would have been a little bit better had we not conceded to John Stones in the last second, but for the most part, I think we can all agree that right now our season is looking pretty strong. But here's the beautiful thing, is that we have done this with primarily an injury-struck team. Most of the season, we've had a lot of injuries to deal with, whether that be Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, Kieran Tierney, Mikael Merino. The moment we got him in, he couldn't play until the PSG game. And most of all, the biggest injury that's impacted us the most was Martin Odegaard being injured. And Martin Odegaard, as we know, I've said this last season, I'll say it again, that most of our attacks, most of the good things that we do is through Martin Odegaard, whether that be linking up with Bukayo Saka on the right hand side, whether that be an amazing defense split and pass. Most of our good things, especially in the final third, comes from Martin Odegaard. Even when we are pressing and we need someone to lead the press, it's usually Martin Odegaard that does that. Odegaard isn't just an on-the-ball wizard. Off the ball, he's so good, has a high defensive work rate. Oh, and he's our captain, so we've missed a lot of leadership while he's been injured. But despite him being injured for quite a while now, we have looked really good. We beat Spurs with no Odegaard. We almost beat Man City in the Etihad Stadium with no Martin Odegaard. We beat PSG with no Martin Odegaard. We currently sit third in the table, equal on goal difference with Man City, just 1 point behind Liverpool. All of that with no Martin Odegaard. Arsenal have been arguably one of, if not the best teams in Europe right now, and we have had so many injuries in our midfield and our defense, and we are still looking really, really good. So that's such an exciting thing to look at, is that the fact that we've been so good, we've been so solid with no captain, a lot of injuries, and we are still looking really good. We've been relying a lot more on youth players than usual, but we are still looking really good. And that is so exciting with the fact that Ben White will be returning after the international break. Odegaard will be returning soon. Tierney, Tomiyasu's just returned. Zinchenko should be returning soon. Not that either Tierney, Tomiyasu or Zinchenko will be starters, but that will allow us even more depth than we already had. And here's the thing, throughout all those injuries, one thing that wasn't really said, maybe outside of our midfield problem, was that, oh, we are lacking depth. We are lacking a lot of depth. We never really said that because we weren't. We were able to rely on guys like Miles Lewis-Skelly, Ethan Winieri. We were able to rely on those guys, and they really performed well enough to the fact that we didn't even miss Tierney. We didn't even miss Tomiyasu or Zinchenko at left back because Lewis-Skelly was so good there. And at times, when Trossard wasn't playing at the 10 and it was Ethan Winieri there, we weren't really missing Martin Odegaard. Now, yes, without Martin Odegaard, we have had to rely even more on set pieces than we did last season. But now with us being so clinical and so good at set pieces, every game we get a little bit better at it. And Martin Odegaard returning so that in general play, we can just be more fluid. It is going to be so exciting to see. Arteta is going to be having a lot of headaches now with everyone returning from injury. Like I mentioned before, this fullback issue may be an issue for Mikel Arteta. Do we start Ben White with Timber at left back or Calafiori at left back? Do we bench Ben White and have Calafiori start at left back or Timber start at right back? In midfield, when is Ethan Winieri going to get game time? Is Odegaard going to get more rest now that we know Trossard can play at 10 and he can play play at the 10 really well. Martinelli is back on form. Bukayo Saka is a world-class player. He needs his own video because he is arguably one of the best players in the world right now. Frankly, he's a top 3 player on form alone. Kai Havertz is still scoring game after game. We are on absolute fire, and the only thing that we have right now is players coming back from injury. Mikel Arteta is going to be getting so many good headaches that I'm so excited to see how he handles all the selection problems. The only couple things I can guarantee right now is that I know Raya will be in goal for us, and I know our centre-back partnership, and Havertz with Saka up front. The rest at the left wing position, the midfield, the fullbacks, those are all up for debate, not because we're not good enough in those areas, but because we are so good in those areas that there are only so many minutes to go around with so many good players. One thing that may be an issue though is trying to balance that with allowing academy players like Lewis Skelly and Wanyeri to still get game time. That is going to be something I think Arteta will most likely struggle with. We know he does struggle with allowing and trusting academy players, especially in important games. So with all these guys returning from injury now and our squad looking very healthy and very deep, I just hope he doesn't forget about our academy players, because I can't speak for everyone, but for myself, I love seeing Ethan Wanyeri and Miles Lewis Skelly play. I think they're really talented players and they do need more first team game time, so I just hope he doesn't forget about them. But yeah, overall, I just think we're in such a good spot right now. We've had an awesome start to the season, and theoretically on paper, we could only get better with all these players returning from injury.